Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Community FC, where we've got a transfer special coming out. I was about to say, well, technically is, part of the Roundup review series. We will label it episode 3 of season 2, but this is the January transfer special. Obviously, the January transfer window closed yesterday, so we thought, why not? No football really this week. FA Cup could be on the weekend, but let's get an episode out, and we've got some fun stuff to talk about. So I've got my regular co-host as always, Rich. How you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you, Aidan. Thanks for having me as always.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So we will jump straight in. We're going to go through kind of clubs in alphabetical order. Some of them will have a lot to say, some of them won't. We're going to try and keep it a fairly quick episode. I just wanted to start with an interesting one here, which is a quote I saw from the BBC, actually. And they were saying that the Premier League completed the second highest January spending in history, with a total of £295 million spent. But if you look at that with last year, and I know the coronavirus age will obviously skew these figures quite a lot, but if you look last year, Premier League clubs only spent 70 million in January 2021. So that is, crazy amount less this year. And obviously some teams are, which we will discuss, paying over the odds for a lot of players because their need is must for lots of them. But I just thought it was a really interesting stat that they've paid a lot of money this year, and we see that anyway, the increasing raise of every transfer window basically with ridiculous numbers happening. But yeah, we will kick off with Arsenal. So we can go team to team. And this one was a really simple one for ins. They've got Austin Trusty, who's coming in the summer, I believe, from Colorado Rapids. So he plays in the MLS currently, but he doesn't come until the summer, and he's a defender. So I think that's where we'll be saying this quite a lot, but I think he's a young un to kind of bolster the squad, and they've seen something in him. I will hand over to you, though, because I think the outs are actually quite an interesting one for Arsenal.
Yeah, I feel like Arsenal haven't had a great transfer window, to be honest. Now, the biggest name on there is Aubameyang going for free. To Barcelona, which is obviously he's had his issues and he's had his problems on and off the pitch, but he's a goal scorer, and I feel like if you're letting a goal scorer go, you need to get another goal scorer in.
Well, and they missed out on their target. I'm going to say his name probably wrong, but Vlahovic, wasn't it? That they really, really wanted. Everyone was sure they were going to get. Nope.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? And you almost want to see them have option 2, option 3, option 4, but it looks like they just switched off. I think there's another target. Name recalls me. The name slips my mind, but there was 2 targets.
Yeah. So I was going to say we had 2 targets, but you think even if they missed out on them, if you're, as you said, losing one, even bring in someone younger, like some of these other clubs we're going to talk about bring in someone that's backup. Like,
yeah, this is it. And Arsenal, I think it's probably fair to say that a lot of their goals come from midfield this season.
Definitely.
So I would be a little bit concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
Some other interesting ones. Kolasinac for free to Marseille.
Yep.
I feel like that's probably that's probably a fair one. Callum Chambers to Villa. I like the lad, ex-Saints lad. I think he could do with some more game time, really.
Absolutely, yeah. He needs to get away from the club for
Maitland-Niles was a bit of a surprising one, to be honest, because I think he does get some game time.
He does, but I think he's one of those people, a bit like Joe Willock when he went to Newcastle from them as well. He's looking for more game time in general. And I think what he's looking at, and I don't know if he's friends with probably his London clubs as well, but obviously he's looking at what Tammy's done and gone to Roma as well, under Mourinho. And he's thinking, we're not looking at other Premier League clubs getting me particularly, so I'm going to go in here and see what I can do. So I think they're all of them are sensible moves from Arsenal because most of them need to be shipped.
Aubameyang, so I was about to say, the thing is, obviously with the new rules coming in next season for loans as well, you're going to see these teams kind of start to strip out players. So it doesn't surprise me that you've got a lot of loans this window, because this is their last chance to impress the parent clubs before they're going to have to be sold. Yeah. Because you can only have 8 players out on loan. I
can't remember what the actual new rule
is. I think it's something like that. So 8 players out on loan. Which is outrageous when you consider that some teams have. I think Chelsea had like 28 last year.
United got loads as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of loans.
And it would make sense. And we said that for, the whole Chelsea thing a few years ago, that makes total sense. And that kind of makes a bit fairer. What I was going to say quickly was I think the Aubameyang one was interesting because I think the quote even came out when they were like, he's happy to take any money that Barcelona are willing to pay because he just wants out, which it must just be such a toxic situation from both ends now that he just wants out. So that's fair enough. The only other thing I was going to say about Arsenal was that they really wanted like Vlahovic up top or someone like that, but they also were desperate for a midfielder, and yet no midfielder has come. They have a lot of scoring talent from midfield, but they needed another centre mid, a more defensive minded one, when Xhaka's getting sent off every other week, and they had a lot of injuries and all that kind of stuff. Thomas Partey's quite injury prone and stuff, but they need cover. So I am personally quite shocked that they didn't, and especially after spending so much in summer, you thought they might bolster up a little bit in January like some clubs do. So, but
I think it's a poor window for them, to be honest. Yeah. I think it's poor.
Yeah, I think they had it looks like they looked like they spent way too much in some on certain players. I still think they did on some, but most of their players have come really good. That they got like specifically. Sorry, if I can get my words out. Specifically, Tomiyasu and why is your name? Ramsdale. Sorry, literally blank. Then Ramsdale has been unreal for them, and I think Carragher was saying signing the season, which he totally could be for that club at that, on how good he's been. But yeah, I'm just surprised they didn't get anyone else. Anyway, we will move on. So probably the second to biggest, I would say, probably transfer for a club. I'll let you kick off on this one, which is Villa.
Honestly, I think they've won the window. To be honest, the players they've got in have been quality.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they've got Coutinho in, who made instant impact in that first game. Luca Digne, who is one of the best left backs in the league, I think, on his day. And then they've got Callum Chambers, who we just spoke about him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's solid cover at right back.
Yeah.
And then they got a chap from Dundee who I think is probably a youngster. Kerr Smith.
Yeah. And then they've got a few others. I think they've got someone on loan from
Roma, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Roma. And then the outs for them obviously was Matty Targett, gone to Newcastle, and El Ghazi, who went to Everton.
And Wesley.
And Wesley, I think that I think they've had a really, really solid transfer window. I think Coutinho's huge. I think, as you've said, he just wasn't gelling at Everton, but I think Luca Digne is an incredible signing, and he already proved it on playing Everton. Turned back up, doing what he wanted. I think obviously Callum Chambers is coming in to get some game time, but obviously probably covering for the Matty Targett hole where he's going out somewhere else. So Gerrard probably maybe this doesn't see anything in Targett and is getting players to cover. But I think they're just building on what they've needed, and they've just building on. He's like, I want more from my fullbacks, and let's just see what's happening. And I trust Gerrard at the moment to put together exactly what he's wanting, and I think with the flair and the showmanship as that little bit of extra that Coutinho is going to bring as well. You're thinking Coutinho and he's going to bring the lights and stuff, but John McGinn and stuff like that's still going to be absolutely rampant behind him, and will go maybe a bit more unsung hero role, but they could gel really well together. So I think Aston Villa have done extremely well with this transfer window.
They have done fantastic this window, to be fair. They've cemented on what they did in the summer, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But they kind of need to, if, as we've discussed, they were hoping for ridiculously high at the beginning of the season, and now with Gerrard, I think that is more achievable, but they need to keep on building what they've got, keep on bringing that better and better and better players. And if they want to be, which they apparently are, looking for, the seventh spot potentially next season, they have to do that, and they have to keep bringing the personnel. And, there was talks of Suarez, which apparently at one point was really strong. And I think that would have been incredible for them, but hasn't happened. But yeah, I think they've done really well. So Brentford is the next one. So this one, Brentford aren't going to have that many crazy ins, but they had two players that come in. They've got a new goalkeeper from their parent club, effectively, from Midtjylland, so that's no surprise there. They've got a goalkeeper coming in as cover. But I think for me, the most important one we'll talk about all evening, just for the reason of how nice it's seeing back, is obviously Christian Erickson has signed for Brentford, and he hasn't obviously been able to play since his cardiac arrest at the Euro. So that's the real feel good factor there. And do you know what? I've always liked Christian Erickson. I think he was amazing at Spurs. United were linked at one point, and I would have taken him. And I think that it's great to see him come back because of those reasons. But he is a solid player as well, so it's going to be a really big step up for Brentford to have a caliber of player like Erickson in their squad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is it. I mean, it is exactly the feel-good factor. And I've still got no doubts he can do the job as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give him a little bit of time to get up to speed.
Yeah.
You don't want to see people out for his throat too soon. But I do think he'll do a job for him, and I think he'll get some good game time, and I think he can make a real impact for Brentford.
Yeah.
And possibly, will help them keep away from that relegation zone.
Yeah, exactly. And I just really hope, which I'm sure he will, but I'm sure he's just going to kick on a bit like Dele blended when he went back to Ajax and had a similar thing with cardiac arrest and had a pacemaker attached to him. He is absolutely fine now, and has cracked on for several seasons and has been, great to them. So I hope that Erickson has that last couple of years and he goes out and the way he wants to go out and can do that. And if it's at Brentford, then it's at Brentford, and that I'm sure he's just happy to get a chance to play in the Premier League again at a top. A top flight of kind of any particular league that would have him with the certain laws, obviously, with going against him in Italy. Cool. Do you want to jump on to the next one? So it was the next one, Brighton.
Brighton, yeah. So we had three ins, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They had the Kozlowski.
Yeah.
Dennis Undav, which actually for 6 million was a fantastic buy, actually.
Yeah.
Very, very good buy. And then chat from Porto.
Yeah.
Benicio Baker Boiti.
Yeah, that's probably a very good pronunciation, I would have thought.
Give it a go with that. I think it was a solid.
Porto, isn't he? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think it was a solid transfer window. To be honest, I think nothing too special, nothing too magical, but some good players in there having it around your squad for a bit of depth.
Yeah,
which I think is important.
2 midfielders and a striker, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to have that in your squad as well.
Yeah.
And then the only notable outgoing is Dan Burn for Newcastle,
which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some points, but I'll cover those points when we get to Newcastle. I think. Sure. But yeah, I think probably not the worst bit of business to get 13 million quid.
Well, I think that was the thing. I think originally they probed quite early on, and Brighton were like, no, because they were going to keep him even if he wasn't playing first time every week. He was the experience and the cover. And then it seems to be that they've kind of pushed it up a bit. So I think, as you said, Brighton probably will be quite happy with 13 mil for Burn and let him go. Anyway, so we will move on now to Burnley, which, in my opinion, potentially had the best transfer video. Do you want to kick off with this one?
Yeah, phenomenal transfer video. You got to love a social media team for a club when they have a little bit of banter about it. But so we'll talk about the outgoing first. Obviously, Chris Wood to Newcastle. We spoke about this in the previous Roundup reviews. A lot of money for Chris Wood.
Yeah.
But if Newcastle come asking for a player, then you can tack on a lot of money to that player these days.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to get rid of a 6'4" striker, why not replace him with a 6'6" striker in Weghorst? And if I remember rightly, I think I read a stat that he is second in Bundesliga goal contributions to Lewandowski.
Oh, there you go. So, big man up top.
Big man up top. My only concern is a very, very different league.
Yeah.
To the Bundesliga. And, as a Saints fan, I've seen a lot of players come across from the Bundesliga and not hit the ground running. And I think Burnley needs someone to come in and really hit the ground running. So, but a 6'6" striker in a Burnley side, Sean Dyche likes his players to lump it up the top. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see the game plan there. As you said, it's just whether he gels quickly enough, because Chris Wood is not only the goal scorer, but he's such a provider and hold-up man, and then passes it off to the team. So, he has to come in really quickly and take that role and do everything else as well. So, but we'll get onto it for Chris Wood more for Newcastle as well. So next, quickly go on to Chelsea. So Chelsea here, they just had 2 young-uns, as we'll call them probably, and quite a lot of teams have done this, where they did have 2 ins. They got Dylan Williams, who came from Derby, and they've got Mason Burstow, who's come from Charlton, who's really highly rated as well. Williams is a left back, Burstow's a striker, but again, they're classic Chelsea style. It's future talent, and there was no other ingoings and nothing really notable outgoing. So we'll probably just quickly move on.
The only notable outgoing I'll say is Tino Anjorin, who was linked with Southampton. And at the moment, it looks like we'll make a move for him in the summer when he's out of contract. So he's at Huddersfield on loan now. So he looks like he's going to be a high potential youngster. So would fit very well in with Southampton.
Yeah. Oh, by all means, carry on to Crystal Palace next.
Palace, two ins, Jean-Philippe Mateta from Mainz 05 and Luke Plange from Derby, who's gone back on loan to Derby. I think, you've probably got some youngsters there to develop.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't know anything about Jean-Philippe Mateta.
No, I don't.
But, I think what you're seeing in this whole window is a lot of teams that are just picking young talent and bringing them on board.
To pick those gems for a few years.
Try and develop. Yeah, that's it. Everyone's feeling the pinch.
Yeah, well, and Luke, is it Plang, however you say it, he's was on Derby, but I think he was one of the Arsenal youngsters who was a bit of a talent a few years ago as well. So they might have gone, right, he's good, he's impressed at Derby, let him go back for the season. Then if he comes in, he comes in. And then see what happens. Well, yeah, you might as well kick on because this is another huge club. I didn't actually think that Everton is, the next club I should have said, that I did not think we'd be saying some of the players that we're going to say in terms of this club. And it'd be really interesting to get your thoughts on some of them.
Yeah, so, Everton needed a rebuild. We knew this. They're in a really bad position. Since the last Roundup review, they have hired Lampard as the new manager. So, obviously, you've got that name pool.
We can count him as an in.
We can count him as an in. We certainly can. We've got Michaelenko from Dynamo Kiev. Don't know a lot about the chap. Undisclosed fee as well, so I think it's probably a nominal fee. Nathan Patterson from Rangers for 16 million seems like a fairly decent buy. El Ghazi from Villa on loan. I questioned it at the time. I don't think he's got sparks in him, El Ghazi.
When he wants to, he's one of them, isn't he?
If you're in the mire of relegation fighting, which Everton could be very soon, El Ghazi's not going to sort you out there. Van der Beek from United on loan is a very, very shrewd signing.
Very shrewd.
I think that'll do wonders for the kids' confidence as well. To get the game time is going to be brilliant, and I think it's a win-win situation for everyone involved because he should be walking into that Everton team. He should be helping them survive and hopefully get them further up that table, and then come back to United with that game experience in. So brilliant signing there. Next one, Dele Alli.
50-50.
There's 50-50. There's no question that Dele Alli is a very, very talented footballer if the right Dele Alli turns up. I think that Tottenham getting 40 million for him is very, very good bit of business from Daniel Levy.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I don't think Dele Alli's been worth 40 million pounds for a long time. But he could do the job at Everton.
Yeah, no, and exactly, and I think you've covered the first three players. I just have something to add on the two midfielders at the end, and it's more that I think we'll start with Ali as we've just talked about him. So I think it's very 50-50. I think it's not a lot of money if you're getting the old Ali from 3 or 4 seasons ago, but I think it is a lot of money if he's carrying on the same trajectory that he is now, and there seems to be a lack of motivation, a lack of lots of other things going on behind the scenes, and he's shown flashes of talent, as I said, at the few games that we've seen in this season where he's really been up for it. He's looked really good again. So, they could have got, a really good steal there. And, he's young. He can play for a very long time. Could build himself back up at the Everton squad. But the really interesting for me was Van der Beek. So Van der Beek should be playing more at United, in my personal opinion. I understand he doesn't sometimes fit and he's the sacrificial lamb in terms of when he's playing, who he's playing against and all that kind of stuff. But there's no denying from all reports that I've heard and players and everything that he is extremely good trainer and he tries so hard when he's on the pitch. So I think, as you've kind of said as well, I think he is get my head down, work really hard, impress in the Prem under Lampard, and then potentially try and if United have a new manager or if it carries on being Ragnick or something, but he's done the work, then that's a whole different conversation this summer. So it's win-win for him. The interesting one was that he was very heavily linked to a different club first, which was Crystal Palace. And I think he would have done really well at Palace too. And I think he would have had, I think he'd be first, like one of the first names in the team sheet either, because he has that talent. But I think that he would have shined better for different reasons at the different clubs. I think he would have been done amazingly at Palace, because I think him and Gallagher could have linked up really well in the more attacking sense. But I think in Everton, he'll stand out more because he'll elevate the rest of them so much, and his work rate will really come in to play. But I think, it's a really shrewd signing. I wish Donny all the best. I will miss hearing his little song as he's doing the warm up, because I always enjoy that one. But I think, I really hope that Van der Beek isn't one that slips through the net, and he does come back to us in the summer as a potential to go in there. So, yeah, we will see. Right, so the next, sorry, and we should probably say as well, the out, which is a huge out, which we have touched on, but we said it, which was Luca Dini as well. I can't believe that Rafa sanctioned one of Everton's best players to go to Villa. And I think that I said at the time on a Roundup review a couple of weeks ago, I don't care if he's had an issue with the board and the club and Rafa. They should have done what they can to make that work, because they've had to come in and replace players. But he's defensively he's not bad, but in terms of attacking play and that final ball, he's up there with a lot of the top attacking like wing backs. So I think they've missed out on a huge person there, and they've obviously tried to cover in their window for them. So we'll move on. So next club we've got here is Leeds. So Leeds have only got one in, which was Mateo Jose Fernandez from Espanyol. Fernandez closed fee as well. He's kind of a forward player. I don't know a lot about him. We're going to say that probably quite a lot about lots of these players. And they didn't have any notable outs that I saw. I don't know if you saw any different.
No, yeah, same thing that I saw really. I think if you're a Leeds fan, you'd be looking for a little bit of investment. I think they are, we've seen already how gutted their team becomes with a few key injuries. But they did manage to keep hold of the likes of Rafinha, which is always going to be a worry for him. Well, this is the thing. And I think what you've got to realise is, especially in January, for some teams, keeping hold of players is as good as signing players. Yeah. So I think, Leeds flying under the radar there. I don't think, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great transfer window for them. I think that, I would have liked to have seen a couple players come in maybe just to strengthen them up, but,
Absolutely. And I think the exact same sentiment goes to the next team as well, which is Leicester. So they had an in as well, which was Armani Richards from Arsenal, Fernandez close fee, exactly the same forward player again, probably quite young, but exactly the same thing. I would have said that we don't think we need to go there. We just summed it up. Same situation. I would like to see them bring some people in, but they didn't. So we will move on. Do you want to start with the next one, which is Liverpool?
Yeah, so only one in, but it was a big in. Luis Diaz from Porto. Great signing, fantastic signing. And one of the best narratives of the transfer window was who are Tottenham linked to, and where does that player go at the end? And I know that was a running joke in our little group chat.
It was.
But yeah, great signing from Liverpool. I think really solid. 49 million. Feel like that's an okay kind of price tag for him as well. And then outgoings, the only two notable ones I'd say is Neko Williams going to Fulham on loan, which is good because Fulham are pushing for that Premier League automatic spot. And Nat Phillips to Bournemouth on loan as well, which is another solid. They're both two teams right at the top of the Championship. They'll get game time in a highly competitive position. So, really smart business from Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a lot of Liverpool fans are extremely excited about the prospect of Diaz, attacking winger to cover for Mane or Salah, depending which one's out at the time or not performing so well. And I do think, as we kind of discussed in our group chat as well, that he is cover for Mane potentially next season going in the summer. So they're kind of already covering themselves there. And the only other one I was going to mention was obviously fell through right at the last minute, but from Fulham as well, was Fabio Cavallo, who, it was so close to them and he really highly touted, and it really seemed like everything was going through. I think even Fabrizio was like, it's going to be done and all that, and then something didn't go wrong. But I think they'll either just go back in the summer if they still want him and get something done then. But, it is one of them and they didn't get him. But that's the way it goes sometimes. We've seen crazy things happen in transfer windows before. So, I don't think that'll be the end of it. I think Liverpool fans will be happy that they got Diaz, especially over, Tottenham when they thought they weren't going to get him and then linked and then did get him. So the next one I'll go into is City. So actually, I think City's a really interesting one because they had a really big outgoing, which was kind of talk of the town first, which was Ferran Torres gone to Barcelona for 55.2 mil. I think it's an interesting one. I think it's a case of the negative side of Pep Roulette. He's not getting enough time in the team and he wants to show off his talents. And so when he was asked to play, you're asked to play wherever you play in the City squad, a bit like Grealish. Maybe doesn't have so much, chance to do what he did at Villa and stuff, and he has a role in that team. But that's what you get if you're going to a team like City. So I think all parties will be happy for that, and I think they'll be happy with the price tag. The ins was an interesting one because actually the opposite side, Manchester United were linked with Julian Alvarez before a lot more, but it's a very typical City move where they've gone, okay, they might be wanting to look at him too, but he is very talented. So they bought him from River Plate for 40 mil, but he's coming in the summer. The only interesting thing with the City link as well is that he is dubbed as the next Aguero. So who knows? They've done that. It's an interesting one as well because I also think it's really shrewd business because if they don't get that main striker signing that people are saying that they need, which they're proving that they don't currently, that they have someone who could step up to that position next year and hasn't cost them an arm and leg at all, like 14 million. City tend to get these really incredible shrewd deals for players that could turn out to be amazing talent. Sometimes they spend outrageous amounts of money, obviously like left and right back costing like 50, 60 million. I'm not saying that they always get shrewd signings, but, that then covers them in both situations.
Yeah, and I think that would be my little under the radar pick for fantasy football next season. I imagine it'll be cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, if he lives up to that potential, he could bang in a few goals for you.
Yeah, who knows?
So, yeah. I think smart business from City. They don't need to spend money. They've already got a team of Galacticos.
And a second team of Galacticos.
And a third team of Galacticos. So, they don't need to spend money on players right now. What they're doing is they're doing it very, very well.
And if they want next summer, they're just gonna get a massive big striker signing, and they've already just got 55 mil from Ferran Torres. So that's already
smart business.
Sorting out the money. So the next one. So again, I wasn't expecting anything onto my team. We're onto Manchester United. There was lots of rumours of a midfielder coming in. I wasn't hopeful that we were going to get one. I think they're just seeing how things pan out with the team currently, and then they're going to assess in summer a lot more for a lot of positions. Like Declan Rice and all those kind of people are touted at being the first choice. But there was three. There was quite a lot of outgoings. I won't mention them all, but I think 3 or 4 big outgoings to mention, which was obviously one of them talked about already, which was Donny van de Beek to Everton. Then you had Anthony Martial, who's gone to Sevilla for the rest of the season on loan, full wages paid, which is good for all parties. You had Twanzebe, who's gone to Napoli. And then finally you had Amad Diallo, who I know a lot of people have kind of been talking about recently as well, was bought for quite a lot of money. But came in and he had an injury before this, and it's a lot of time out, but he showed glimpses. And what I like to see is players prove people wrong. And so he's gone to Rangers, and on his first game for Rangers, he scored and actually got the crowd going already. So I'd like to see him do that and kick on more. Problem is we have so many people like Mengi's gone back on loan as well, gone out, and there's so many talented players. But it's like we talk for like the Chelseas and stuff. We have a whole academy going out on loan, and only some of them are going to make it. So, but you just hope that any players going out, they're just doing their best to do anything. And actually, Anthony Martial is the only one who I want to do well for different reasons, because I want him to do well so we get a good price tag for him when we sell him in the summer. And that's really about it. So we'll move on. So we'll move on to the biggest one again, and I'll let you kick off on this one, which is the Magpies.
Newcastle, yeah. So we had a little brief chat before we started recording today, and actually we both come down on opposite sides of the fences on this, because I don't think that's enough to keep them up, honestly. Kieran Trippier, he's a very good right back. We know this. Is he a little bit past it? Maybe. I don't know. Need a few games to do it. Chris Wood, hardly prolific. He fits well in Burnley style of play, but that is not the same as Newcastle style of play. Could be a problem there. Guimarães, £40 million from Lyon.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
A lot of money for a player from 11th placed team in Ligue 1.
When you look at it, Dele Alli for the same money. Sorry to interrupt quick.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Well, you can see people have seen Newcastle and got pound signs in their eyes. All right, okay, I could take that. Matt Targett. I like Matt Targett. He's an ex-Saint, but we sold him because he wasn't getting in our team. I think Villa see him as a liability, hence why he's out. And then Dan Burn from Brighton. Dan Burn, by the way, is their fourth choice centre back after Sven Botman was one of them. I forget the rest.
Yeah, been linked with loads.
But they've been linked with three other centre backs, Diego Carlos and Benoit Badiashile, the other two. So fourth choice centre back there. I don't know. Dan Burn wasn't really getting in that Brighton squad. I don't think they've got any other than Guimarães and arguably Trippier. I don't think they've made really solid signings. I think they've struggled. They've been linked with everyone.
Yeah.
The only people you're going to get are people who want the money. I think.
Yeah.
When you're if they survive relegation in the summer, they've got a better bargaining chip.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
right now, the players that are going to come to you because either you're signing them from a smaller team, in which case they're not going to be Premier League ready.
Yeah.
Or you're signing them towards the end of their contracts and they're older players or players that might just be there for a little bit of cash before the end. So I don't personally think that's enough to keep them up.
Yeah, so my side, it's not anything extreme where I'm saying they're absolutely going to stay up. I still think there's a big chance. I'm just saying I think that before I was like 100%, and now I think they're more like 75%. And just because I think that there's a small chance that 25% they could sneak it, because from looking at those signings for me, I go right, Kieran Trippier. I still think he is getting older, but I still think he's great. Won La Liga last year and is going to be a big influence in that dressing room for them. I think a lot of money for Chris Wood, but I think he's going to provide something. And clearly Eddie Howe's seen how he wants to play. Maybe that's a target man and then bringing it down and spreading it to St. Maxim on the wing or something. That could be, and Joe Linton, that could be the whole plan going forward. But I think it's a lot of money to pay. And also I think half of his signing is for that, but half of his signing is to try and condemn Burnley by taking him from them to completely do that. So I think we're both in agreement on that point. I think Bruno is the most hyped one of all of the transfer window, and I don't think he'll come as much as they're hyping him up. Like he was like everyone on social, it was like he's going to be the savior, he's going to do this. I don't know a lot about him. I'm not going to pretend I do. Apparently, he's quite a good box-to-box midfielder. Excuse me. I'm not sure. Like, I think the jury's out on that one. If he is what they say he is, fair play, and that could really help them.
All I'm going to say right now, Joe Linton too.
Yeah, absolutely could be. Have one or two great games, and then everyone talks about him and goes, "Why hasn't he been playing for a year?" And then you realise he's been pony for like 9 months, and then has one or two good games. So yeah, absolutely could be. And then Matty Targett, I agree. He's been replaced at Villa by obviously Lucadinho. And I think that's a massive upgrade for Villa. But I think what they've done with these last two ones, Matty Targett, and not so much Targett compared to Burn, what I'm about to say, but they've gone for the experience there. They've gone for, these guys are going to come in, solidify stuff up a bit more and bring all that experience. I think we said that the centre-backs, it was a massive issue, but I think that looking at the team, they've now got a new left-back, new right-back, a new centre-back, new midfielder, and a new striker. So effectively bought nearly a whole new spine to the team, and they've left the flair players like St. Maximum stuff to still be in there and have impact. But I just think that Newcastle are leaking so many goals that with Dan Burns' experience, he might not play all the time, but when he does play, he'll bring his experience. But I also think for the dressing room and training with those new And I think Matty Target is not over the hill as much as Burn and won't be like that much of an issue on that side. And I think he'll jump straight in first team as well with Trippier. So I'm not saying it's enough. I'm just saying that I think there's a smaller chance it could be. I think they could, by the skin of their teeth, it could be like Burnley, not in any particular order. It could be Burnley, Watford, Norwich, and they could just scrape it. But I do think it's still a big ask. And let's see what Eddie Howe can do. They might shock everyone. I think the joke still would be funny if you're the richest club in the world and you're in the Championship, but that remains to be seen. Anyway, we'll move on. So again, I'm going to say Norwich and Southampton. I've got NA next to them, but you can correct me if you think there's anything to really talk about with them too.
Yeah, so Norwich, we've got to talk about Todd Camwell going on loan to Bournemouth. I think is an outrageous move by Norwich. Again, I don't get that.
I'd be looking at a Prem move for him, like in Everton or something like that. But,
I think if Norwich go down, I think he'll get bought by we've been linked to him before. I think he's a quality player. Yeah. I think he's a very, very good player. Just needs a bit of nurturing, I think.
Yeah.
Southampton wise, I'm not unhappy with not signing anyone. I would have liked to have seen us get a keeper in, to be honest. But when they gave Big Willie Caballero a contract at the end of the season, I realised that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. And we've got the likes of Sam Johnson going on a free from West Brom in the summer.
Yeah,
we're heavily linked to him. We've also been linked a lot with Dean Henderson.
Yep.
As well.
He'll be.
Lot of money, sure, but I think he's a quality keeper.
I think he's unbelievably good. Like if it wasn't for De Gea's form, I'd take him all day of the week.
Yeah, if that does happen, I'd be very happy. Equally, I'd be very happy with Sam Johnson as well.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of the work Southampton have done have been putting groundwork in place for the summer. Yeah. I mentioned earlier Tino Anjorin from Chelsea. That looks like that'll be something to happen in the summer. And then obviously the Armando Broja saga.
Yeah.
Looks like now that if we avoid relegation, which I think we will.
You definitely will.
I think we've got enough now to keep that buffer in place. He'll come to us probably with a buyback fee as well, because and I think the article I read today was that Chelsea would be happy to sanction that move if the player wanted that move,
which I think he will.
I think he will as well. And I think Chelsea would be happy to do business with Southampton because, we've got, by all accounts, good relationships with Chelsea. And there is buyback clauses in. So we're kind of doing the development part for them.
Absolutely.
And they're getting the option then to buy them back if they do become, pretty hot. But yeah, not unhappy. A lot of youngsters going out on loans, which is quite good. Quite good for us. And obviously Sam McQueen, sadly retiring at a fairly young age after a string of injuries, which is obviously sad to see. But yeah, not an awful window for us, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to jump on to the next one? So they, obviously spent the most in the last day of the window. So we'll go on to Spurs, who, missed out on everyone apparently, but still managed to bring in quite a few players.
Yeah. So they had Bentancur. I don't know what his name is, and Kulusevski. So both from Juventus.
Yeah.
Kulusevski on loan. Yeah, exactly. I don't know a lot about these players, to be fair. I haven't really been following a lot of Serie A this season. Their outgoings are fairly interesting though. Brian Gill on loan to Valencia. I mean, he was bought for a considerable sum of money a couple of seasons ago. 21
mil, wasn't it?
Yeah, for a youngster. And Ndombele off to Lyon on loan.
I can't believe a Premier League club didn't get him as well.
I know. Well, I don't think Tottenham. The thing is, the one thing I will say is I don't think Premier League clubs want to deal with Daniel Levy because he's such a prick.
But isn't he their record signing?
I think he is, isn't he? He is. And the thing is as well, I think he's often scapegoated. Like you said about Donny, he's a sacrificial lamb for that Tottenham side, which I've gone on record before and said this Tottenham side is piss poor at the moment. And I think Ndombele gets unfairly pointed out there. Lo Celso, he cost a bit of money as well to Villarreal on loan, and then obviously Dele Alli to Everton. We've already spoke about that. Great bit of business from Tottenham to get 40 million for him, really.
I think it's just it surprises me. Again, I don't know a huge amount about the two Juve players. Obviously, both midfielders. Well, one's a winger / a midfielder. But bolstering up that kind of the wing to help out with the Kane Son triangle at the top, and then obviously the other one to replace Ndombele and everyone else in the midfield. But I just think I was sure that Conte would come in and go, right, you're going to be you're my absolute monster in the midfield, and it just hasn't happened. And he, wants people from AC Milan or back from Inter and all sorts of stuff. But I understand it's a very Conte thing to get rid of a lot of players on loan and then see how they do and stuff. And it's just maybe they're not his players at all, and that's good that you get in there and do what you want. But I think it's very awkward for Spurs where they were linked with so many people and getting loads of, really apparently close deals and then none of them happening. But I do think you're absolutely right. Nobody wants to deal with Levy. And, but for a very good track record, like he might be a really shrewd businessman, but the problem is he's a very shrewd businessman that then gets rid of all the deals and people wanting to deal with them because people get burned or people get like having to pay lots of money. Like, they might have seen it as a loss back in the day, but just from a United perspective, when we took Carrick and Berbatov from them, we still paid a good amount of money for them, and that relationship was there where they pushed us a bit more to make us pay. But now, like the whole City thing, it's not going to go there, are you? Like the reality is, they bought they brought in Alvarez, and they might look at other people, but Haaland's available this summer. Are they really going to go back for Harry Kane if they don't need him now? Probably not, because they don't want to make the move and they don't want to spend that much money. Mental. So yeah, that's Tottenham. Yeah, I think they're shredding their squad out, and don't know a huge amount about them, but I'm not sure that two players from Juve who are probably subpar at Juve if they've been let go, are gonna change that for them. Conte's gonna have to work his magic elsewhere. So we've got a couple of teams left. So Watford had 4 ins, and I don't really know a lot about most of them. So they brought in Kamara, they brought in Udinese, Samir from Udinese, they brought in Kayemba, and they brought in Kalou, and all of them, I don't know a huge amount, and they're all, a left back, a centre back, a midfielder, and a winger. I think this is very much the standard Watford scouting of these guys seem pretty good. Let's give them a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like they maybe have bought them ready for Championship next season. If you're a Watford fan, you'd be looking for more of an impact signing, someone to help you this season, but. It's smart business, I think. They've got obviously new gaffer there now in Old Hodgson.
Yeah, well, and they could be going right. Well, Kalou can replace. Why is his name gone out of my head? It'll come back to me in a minute. I was just trying to think. I was like, Samir might be replacing Troost-Ekong if he's not having such a good time. And they got players that, they might be thinking we're going to sell certain players, and then these guys are going to replace them for the Championship, which is fair enough. I didn't really see anything for outgoings that was that notable from Watford. And the same with West Ham. I didn't really see it. There was no ins, and there wasn't any particular outs that I was, which surprises me because the form they're in, they've dipped a bit, but they keep going up and then dipping and up and dipping. But they're still in, let's not beat around the bush, a fantastic position for West Ham. And they seem to be really solidifying themselves in that, 4th, 6th area. But you would have thought David Moyes would have been bringing in some backup, even if that is, as they've said a million times, if Antonio gets injured, there's not a lot covering him, and he is very injury prone.
I think that West Ham are just consolidating, to be honest. I think, like you say, the only real need is for a backup striker, I think, at West Ham. But let's wait and see what happens. They're no doubt going to get a big paycheck in the summer, because I can't see him holding on to Declan Rice.
Let's say Declan Rice goes for 120 million to Manchester United. They can replace Declan Rice and Mark Noble at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and there's going to be a bidding war because Chelsea are interested in Declan Rice as well. So there's going to be some sort of bidding war going on as well. So, yeah, I'm not surprised about that. I think that realistically, they've got a good enough squad as it is.
Cool. Well, we'll move on. Last team.
Fine.
So we're getting
last
to
team.
Wolves.
So the biggest thing, I guess, was actually, I think, the out, which was Adama Traore to Barcelona.
And
another one that not Spurs, another one Tottenham missed out on, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Which is a shame because I heard Daniel Levy had already bought all the barrels of baby oil.
But also, did you see the wage thing? I can't remember how much his wages were on, but basically, I can't remember his exact wages at Barcelona. But I'm told, from the sources I saw, that his wages at Spurs was 120 grand a week. Apparently, at Barcelona, it's like 30 or 40, and he's just.
I think it's 15K a week. I think it's like really quite low.
So that if that doesn't say something, I don't know what does, because he could have generally their plan was at Spurs, it would have been Son, Traore, Kane as the 4-3. And the fact he's turned down that amount of money to go, no, I want to play for Barca, help them do their rebuilding. That is crazy to me.
Yeah. But 4-ins, Hayo Kawabe from Zurich. Chiquinho from Estoril, which is good because you need a Portuguese player if you're Wolves. So they got their one Portuguese signing. Hwang Hee-chan.
The ball.
They've actually signed him now. So from Leipzig, and then Jong Sang Bin. From Suwon Samsung Blue Wings.
And I can't remember whether it's Sangbin or whether it's Koebe, but one of them's known as the Grasshopper. And I was like, I love the fact they're now just buying players with nicknames of animals. So I was like, that's good. I like that. But obviously we know that Hwang Hee-chan, obviously we both had him in Fantasy League at one point, and he settled in no problem. So I think that's good. And the other ones, I think especially Koebe seems to be the one that they're touting because he's quite a prolific midfielder apparently. Don't know huge amounts about him. I just saw a quick thing. And so, if they're getting some replacements for players, I think Chiquinho plays on the wing, so that could be the Traore replacement, and then just solidifying up, and that could be enough for them, and I think it probably will be. Again, I don't think they're going to finish great, but I don't think they're going to finish awfully. So they're just doing business there. But if the ball's anything to go by, then that their scouting's going just fine. So that's a wait and see, and that's probably quite a good way to wrap up the transfers in general. I think there's a lot of players which are we'll wait and see, and I think that whole Newcastle squad is we'll wait and see. Like the only one I'm confident out of that entire list is Kieran Trippier. This is the only one I'm completely fine knowing that he's going to do it. The only thing is his legs, but I think he's all right. The rest of them are such, we'll see, that you just don't know. But it was an interesting one. Going back to the original statement I made in the beginning, that seems quite a lot of money for not a crazy amount of stars.
Yeah, I think what you've seen though is a lot of that money comes from one or two players.
Yeah,
got £49 million for Diaz, £40 million for
Ali.
For Ali and Bruno Guimaraes as well. So already you've got 120 odd million just in those three players. So I was going to say, so you can see like that, those kind of players. Chris Wood, 25 million.
And but I do just think it's really interesting that there's a lot of players, a lot of big club players that have been either sold or shipped out to other clubs as well. It's really, really interesting. There's been a lot of switcheroos and the Premier League middle table battles from lots of clubs as well. So lots of managers either prepping for next season and this could be the way. Maybe this is the future of the Premier League, and you're seeing spending is going to keep going up. But loads of players that were bought for first team, if they're not working straight away, getting banged into other teams in the Prem. And
what you're seeing is the big teams with the big squads putting their players out on loan now while they can
get ready.
To get them ready, because if they need to sell them, they want to sell them with a bit of a price tag in the summer, because they won't be allowed to put as many players out on loan.
Absolutely. So are we saying that Villa wins? I think we are saying that we think Villa wins the transfer.
I think Villa wins, and I think Everton are up there as well, because I think
I think for me, if it's top three we're talking, I think it's Villa, Newcastle, Everton in terms of business done.
I think Newcastle only gets in there because of the sheer amount of
players. They bought.
That's the only reason. I don't think they. If we were looking on a quality signing basis, I don't think Newcastle makes it.
No, I agree. But when they're all combined and what the effect I think they might have, I think we'll put them there. Anyway, I don't know if you saw this, and I didn't discuss it beforehand, but I thought the listeners might find it quite funny as well, because it technically is a transfer thing. So I like to do a fun story then if I can. So if I say Roberto Carlos, did you see anything about this?
Oh, do you know what? It rings a bell. I think I saw a video.
So I'll read it out. So basically, Roberto Carlos, who is 48 now, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. Brazilian World Cup winner, Real Madrid, ridiculous free kicks, everything like that.
Best left foot in the game.
Yeah, well, people still say that to this day. So what if I told you that he will be making an appearance for the Bull in the Barn? So the Bull in the Barn are a non-league team who play in the, so let me get my notes, in the Shrewsbury and District League. And it was won via an eBay bid. So he's put his services up on eBay. I think it was probably for charity. I can't quite remember. So yeah, I thought this was a really fun story. So I'll read out the full thing. But it says, Roberto Carlos, the Brazilian legend, is set to make an appearance for the Shropshire pub team. The Bull in the Barn won the services of Carlos, now 48, in a dream transfer raffle on eBay, meaning he will appear as a substitute at one of the Shrewsbury and District games in February. On Friday afternoon, our manager, Ed Speller, sent a message to say, we won the competition and none of us believed him. We thought he was having us on. And lots of them basically said, like, they all went out and got absolutely bladdered and they woke up and were like, are we dreaming? But no, at some time in February, against probably another pub team in that league, Roberto Carlos will be coming on in the second half.
I hope that's on TV. I hope that's
it
televised.
Won't be, but there'll be some kind of YouTube. There'll be Sky Sports camp. I mean, if this is going to happen, it's going to be the most attended game, probably up until, like, we're talking good levels of English football. That's going to be a big crowd, and if you're near, drop what you're doing. Go to every game in February, no matter what. If they don't announce it early, just go, because it doesn't matter if he's 48. Just to see Roberto Carlos play, even if it's 15 minutes, is going to be quality.
That's it.
So, but I thought that was a fun story that a pub team is getting Roberto Carlos to come and play for them. So what a transfer that is for an eBay raffle. But that is it. I mean, I don't know if you've got anything else to add on the transfers. I think we've pretty much summed it up.
No, that's it. I think we've been pretty thorough.
Yeah, I do too. So that has been the January transfer window special for Community FC. If you've been liking this content, don't forget to give us a like and let us know. And we can do the transfer windows. We'll do some summer speculations when we get closer to that window. Give us a like if you liked the video. Subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified every time we go live. Don't forget, we're now on Spotify. If you prefer to listen to us, ramble on as we did last week. Don't want to look at us. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, if you go on Spotify, give us a follow. And if you give us a 5-star rating, that really helps us out and gets the pod out to lots of other people that might want to be listening. But that's really it. Thank you again, as my regular co-host, Rich.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. And we will see you all next week. We've finally got some football coming out, whether that's FA Cup this weekend for a lot of people. But I think we'll all just be glad to see our teams. It feels weird when they're not, like, for 2 weeks, kind of nearly of fixtures of that football. Strange. Anyway, right. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good week, everyone, and we will catch you next week.